Hi, welcome to Box on the Box Rock and Celluloid, Botbrack for short. I'm Edward Box. So I'm going to rank the Mission Impossible films. I went to see the latest instalment the other day. I should give you a spoiler warning. I will be doing a little review of that within the ranking as I'm discussing the films, and I'll just contextualise it more. So without further ado, let's give you the 8th position. No surprise with this, it's Mission Impossible 2. So this is the second instalment from the year 2000. At this point in the Mission Impossible franchise, they were kind of getting in different directors to put their own style on things. That's really what they decided when they got John Woo in. So effectively this has got like doves in it, it's got motorbike chases, spinning guns, slow-mo and so on. I never felt this really fitted the Mission Impossible vibe. I felt like the previous film, although it was Brian De Palma heavy in terms of the directorial flourishes, that fitted the espionage style. This feels more like an action film than espionage, so to speak. I was watching another review, I think it's Sean T. Chandler, said he's quite Bondish in this, really. He's kind of romancing the Thandie Newton character, womanising Anthony Hopkins, is giving it a bit of M, isn't he? And if Anthony Hopkins was actually linked with a Bond villain role a few years before this, if they made a third Dalton. But anyway, the first time I saw this, I really didn't like it. The last time I watched it, I would give it a 6 out of 10, actually. It was better than I remembered. Interesting enough, I'll give you some grosses. This grossed $546 million when it was released. It probably about $1.1 billion, and that makes it the equal highest attended Mission Impossible film. Okay, so my next choice is number 7. Again, this film I actually liked more when it came out, but I watched it again. I felt it lacked something, this Mission Impossible 3. So this is actually the lowest grossing when it's grossed just under $400 million when it came out, 640 inflation adjusted. Maybe it's not the lowest grossing one actually. But anyway, with this one, J.J. Abrams came in. Now, I haven't seen the series Alias, but I understand that it kind of has a lot of Alias style tropes in it. I really like the opening of this, the bit with Kerry Russell where the bomb goes off in the head. The helicopters, that's really exciting, but it's got a level of grittiness about it. It's a bit more serious. I think post 9/11, post Bourne, there was a sense that more needs to be at stake with this. Not as joking, it isn't. I think it lacks a kind of action set piece that stands out. It's got a bit in the middle where I think he has to kind of slide down a glass building or something, but it's not quite as memorable. The climax doesn't really have a big action climax. He kind of fights with Seymour Hoffman's villain. And I should say that Philip Seymour Hoffman's villain is way more scary and intense than there is any reason to be in this film. Hoffman really goes for it. He is quite frightening. He's very, very good. This film uses the J.J. Abrams MacGuffin of the rabbit's foot, and he doesn't explain or tell anyone what's in the rabbit's foot. Apparently he had this thing where he got given a magic box when he was a kid. He bought it from a shop, he liked the look of it, but he never opened it. He preferred to have the idea of, it was a secret box, sorry, he preferred the idea of not knowing what was inside, and that's something he's carried with him all these years. Perhaps he could have maybe opened a script, kind of Star Wars story arc idea. That might have been a good idea, JJ. Anyway, but it's a decent film. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It introduces the Simon Pegg character and starts to establish the team idea. I feel the bit when they go to the Vatican's entertaining, but tonally it's got the mass and it's a little more light and jokey compared to the intensity of the first half. And then of course it also involves him being married, Michelle Monaghan's character, and that's sort of a little jarring, although it's pretty good. And they managed to get it into the plot. They kind of have to get rid of that later. That plot kind of idea with the wife, not get rid of Michelle Monaghan, she's top. Okay, so my next choice is the latest film, it's The Final Reckoning. I'll tell you off the bat, I'd give this a 6 out of 10 just. The issue with this film is it's too long. It's 2 hours and 50 minutes, and the start of it is a lot of expo dumping, a lot of kind of cutting back to what's gone before, and so on. Like I said, there's a spoiler in this, so if you don't want to know about this, I'm going to put my hand up now, and I'll put my hand up again, and that'll be the end of this sequence. But we actually find out that the rabbit's foot, that what was in the rabbit's foot was actually the god, anti-god as they call it, and that's the thing that's given rise to Christ, I've forgotten the entity. There we go. Now, I actually quite like the idea of the entity, this AI thing, because the whole idea of the internet and Facebook and Twitter and so on is people gather information about you and then they know you better than yourselves and try and sell you things. So what if you had this ultimate AI that got all the sum of human knowledge and every human being, and then it would predict what that human's going to do, and that's the thing. The entity relies on the idea that it will know the outcome of someone's actions. It will predict because it knows them better than it knows themselves. And then there's a whole thing throughout the film like this is what the entity wants us to do, so we need to kind of think against that. But anyway, after the expo dumps, there's the sequence where he goes down to the submarine. This is an excellent action sequence. It's really well done, really tense. Really enjoyed that bit. Enjoyed the way they introduced the guy from the first film, from the break into the vault, and I liked his character. Forgetting over the actor, that was something that could have not worked. It was a bit ridiculous, but I did like it. I liked his Inuit Eskimo wife as well. She was good fun. Haley Atwell was better in this, but another issue with a lot of people is I didn't like the fact they killed off Elsa, the Rebecca Ferguson character in episode 7. I've sort of come to realise that maybe Rebecca Ferguson couldn't commit to the long shoots of these. She's in that series Silo, that got put back because of COVID probably, and that's her starring thing, so it's maybe they did want to keep her in, but we'll come to the issues of that in a bit. Obviously the plot was really convoluted. The Ving Rhames sacrifice was good, but it's a shame to lose his character because he kind of lost. He ended up with practically a new team by the end of it, aside from Simon Pegg. Of course, the biplane bit was outstanding. They managed to kind of outdo the helicopter bit from Fallout. It was insane. I do marvel at the way Tom Cruise is in the shot doing his stunts. The thing is, he's near a propeller. I know he'll be wired in, and there's removal, but stuff could still go wrong in his parachute jump. So really well done. Kind of daft, but then again, these things always are. But at the end of the film, just had one meeting in London, and then obviously that was just Simon Pegg knows as Haley Atwell. She's only been in the 2 films. The girl, forgetting the actress with the blonde hair, who was betrayed by the Gabriel character. I quite like Gabriel. He's kind of a bit Bondish villain, actually. Probably the most Bondish villain. It was just kind of a bit strange. Interesting as well that episodes 5 and 6 have the same villain, 6, 7 and 8 do. I thought this film, in a way, it kind of tried to tie everything together, and it suffered from the same thing that Daniel Craig Bonds did. Sometimes it's just good to have a rip-roaring, singular action adventure, but this, since the Fallout film, it's been going a different way. And it was kind of really vain, really, to Tom Cruise. Basically, he goes down a submarine, he drowns, he's resurrected. He's the only person who can save the whole of humanity. It must be Scientology, it must be a plot. But anyway, I'd give the film, I said, coughed and spluttered to 6 out of 10. That was based on the 2 stunning action sequences. And some good character moments. There's no such thing as a bad or a dull Mission Impossible film. I should tell you, my wife nearly fell asleep in the first 50 minutes, and she was more like a 4 or 5 out of 10. She's very disappointed. She felt like it was a waste of her hours. So the reviews of this have generally been about 3 stars. Okay, then that brings me to my number 5 choice. Quickly though, I didn't mention Final Reckoning. Looks like it's going to gross north of $500 million. Maybe crack 600 at best. This film's cost $400 million. It will not make a profit, basically. Which brings us to Dead Reckoning, which, if people are aware, didn't do as well at the box office as they hoped compared to Fallout. It grossed $570 million, probably about 600 with a ticket price change. Again, that cost $300 million because it was postponed for COVID. That is my number 5 choice, Dead Reckoning. Now, I enjoyed Dead Reckoning at the time. Although I thought it was a bit convoluted, because it's tied in with the Final Reckoning, it's kind of made them one, and that sort of brought out the issues with it more. What did I like about this film? The train bit's great, the motorcycle stunt bit, it's all fun action, but killing off the Elsa character didn't like. The whole entity thing's pretty crazy. Vanessa Kirby is interested in this. Where was she in the Final Reckoning? That's the other thing. So again, I like this film, but I think at the time I was like, maybe it's an 8 out of 10, or maybe 7.5, but I'm feeling it's more like a 6.5 to a 7. would be my mark for it. Why didn't it gross as much as film? I will be doing a thing on film franchise fatigue coming up where I'll discuss this more. But I think in the trailers they kind of gave away the big stunt, and every franchise has its peak moment creatively, peak moment with box office, and it's hard for these things to go on and on. But it's weird to think that the final two Mission Impossible films, which would probably, with prints and advertising, would probably cost $1 billion to put out there. To make their money back, they're going to sell a lot of Blu-rays, 4K, box sets, and TV and streaming revenues. Okay, my number 4 choice is Rogue Nation. Chris McQuarrie's first film. I think McHugh brings in a lot of grit, a lot of hardness to the action that he brings. Going back to the J.J. Abrams one, introduces the Rebecca Ferguson character really well. A bit of a sort of star-making, not a superstar-making role, but, really put Rebecca Ferguson on the map. Both like a beautiful actress and a strong actress, a strong presence. Really good. Bike chase is good in this. A lot of hard-hitting action. Obviously, there's a bit where he's in the water cylindrical thing. He gets rescued by Rebecca Ferguson's character. I think the climax of this is tense, but it's a bit sort of, they're running around London shooting people. It's not like that big climax that we expect sometimes. But the previous one had a slightly bigger action climax, and maybe they're trying to sort of balance that. Again, Rogue Nation, I give a 6.5, 7 out of 10. I think it's makes more sense than Dead Reckoning, although Dead Reckoning's got more spectacle. Okay, so those the top 3 are the ones where I think they get it right. I think the top 3 are the ones, if you wanted to know what Mission Impossible film's all about, these are the ones. So my number 3 choice is Ghost Protocol. I watched this when it came out in the pictures. I watched it recently before the Dead Reckoning came out. I think this is really solid. You've got the opening in Russia, which is a lot of fun. The bit on the Burj Khalifa is great. There's a sandstorm. It's got the team aspect of it's good with Jeremy Renner. Paula Patton's in it. She's pretty good. It's Brad Bird directs this, interesting, and then he, I don't know what he did again, he kind of disappeared. Or was it the thing with George Clooney that flopped, Tomorrowland? Can't remember, but anyway, this was pretty good. And this was a bit of a comeback, really, because the gross for Mission Impossible 3 was the lowest one. This actually grossed 695 million, about 900 million in today's money. So just say Rogue Nation was 710 million, probably about 850 million in today's money. So switching those around gross-wise, pretty matched. And yeah, it kind of got Mission Impossible. And Tom Cruise back a bit on the map after jumping up and down on sofas in the whole Katie Holmes era. My only criticism is the villain's not very gripping. The late, I'm forgetting his name, Michael, Swedish actor. The bit with the car kind of thing at the end, that would maybe be better as a middle action sequence. I don't know, maybe the sandstorm idea might have been one to use. It is a good action sequence, but it doesn't feel quite as climatic to me. But that's just my opinion. But I would give this film an 8 out of 10, 7.5, 8. It is very entertaining. So my top 2, so my number 2 choice is the original Mission Impossible. This grossed $456 million when it came out. If you released it today, it would equal MI2 of a 1.1 million gross thereabouts. If we've got criticism about this, it has to have CGI in the action sequence at the end in the tunnel, which is really well done, but obviously that's not the Mission Impossible way. The Mission Impossible way has been to do real stunts, wire removal, and CGI that you can't tell is there. Having said that, what I think works really well about this is Brian De Palma. Basically, Brian De Palma's it. He does some great Hitchcocking stuff on the train. It's got that line flashback sequence recalling Stage Fright, the Hitchcock film. John Voight's really good. His team's good. The opening's going to get wiped out. There's a bit of the fish tank. Kit Herrick's really good. Henry Cherney. It's a good rollicking spy adventure. And it introduces the MacGuffin. This is the knock list. And this element does kind of track back as well in a new film. Of course, the best bit is the break into the vault again. The middle kind of action sequence is the one people remember. What's remarkable about this is literally in the script it said he breaks into the vault. De Palma basically came up with this. He designed the sequence, and I think that's why you have to give the guy credit as one of the great filmmakers. He's pure cinema. He's one of these filmmakers you can tell something purely with images. It's brilliantly shot sequence, brilliantly conceived, brilliantly edited. Brian, I love you. So yeah, I still like the original Mission Impossible. I kind of came back to it. I kind of think it dropped down to 7 out of 10. But when I watched it last time, I was actually thinking, this set the template for it, and it holds up to me. A lot of people's top 10s have it lower down, probably because they prefer the more physical action. But I'm a Brian fan. Okay, so no surprises there. My number one choice is Fallout, and looking over people's top 8s, this seems to be the choice of everyone. This grossed 824 million when it came out, probably about 900, 950 now. So again, very successful picture, but I feel they got it absolutely spot on with this, and I probably said this elsewhere. I think not only is this the best Mission Impossible film, I actually think it might be my favourite action film of the 21st century so far, maybe aside from Casino Royale. Because I'm not really into kind of John Wick things and all this. I enjoy it, but I just like the action in this, the way it's physical. It's the one film that has the spot on climax. They actually save the club. I suppose the new one does as well, but the action for the climax and the way it ties in the narrative, it all works well. I think that's the thing with this, the plot with this. It uses the Michelle Monaghan character well. With that, it's the Sean Harris carrying over his villain, but it gives Ethan an extra dimension, an extra reason to be. But then again, it's kind of setting up the whole thing. Oh, only you can save the world, and Ethan is a bit of a Jesus Christ figure. But anyway, it's you got a fantastic fight scene in the lavatory. Clearly, sort of inspired by the Casino Royale opening, but even better. And I think Cavill's fantastic in this scene. That way, he kind of does that Queensberry Rules thing. I mean, Henry Cavill never looked better. There's a great bit where Tom Cruise is running, he breaks his ankle, but carries on. He's underneath the lift. The team dynamics perfect in this. Obviously, Ving Rhames isn't hospital bound in this. He's got to defuse the bomb, and that climax of the helicopters. It's just great stunt work, really tense. When they have to use CGI, it's really integrated well. But I feel every franchise has its high, and it's like, how could you top this? When you make a film this good, it's just so hard to top. It's like Casino Royale, they never topped it in the Daniel Craig era. Fast and Furious, people talk about the 5th one, maybe the 7th one. You can't, there's only so far you can go, and this is why I feel the last 2 films maybe haven't done as well. People are like, well, the last one was amazing, and maybe I'll just wait for streaming, yeah? Okay, but that's just my take. So that's my top 8 Mission Impossible films. I'd imagine that's probably, probably keeping in line with a lot of people, maybe bar me having the first film second, and other people maybe wouldn't put that high. But anyway, remember to share and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.